It's early. It's very early. But it's election day, so that's why I'm putting the flags and signs out. So I work at a poll, and I am a assistant site manager at the poll. So yeah, it's just been pretty fun. Been doing that for some years now. Got more heavily involved in it during COVID because obviously like senior citizens and stuff primarily hold those jobs at polls, writing the books and things like that if you don't know what a poll worker does. And there's some other roles at the locations, but yeah, so I started doing it because I was young, strapping, and healthy, so why not? It's a good way to help out your country and things like that, so big on those type of things myself. And yeah, so it's been fun. So we're right now putting flags out to mark the location and put some other various signs to mark out locations. So yeah, stay tuned. I'll walk you through the day of what I do as an assistant site manager. And the difference between the manager and the assistant manager, or deputy, I guess here we call in the state, is that it depends on who won the district as far as what party won. So Democrats, Republicans, obviously. And depending which party won is how they decide at a polling location who's the manager and then who's the deputy. But the responsibilities are basically the same between the two. Obviously, you have to have balance, especially like writing the ballots down at the end of the night, things like that. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. All right, stay tuned. And of course, lock myself out of the building. Like I put one wedge in the front door. There's two doors to go into a school location. So I put a wedge in the one door because facilities unlocks both doors at a certain point in time before the polls open. Didn't realize I needed to put one on the second door. So walking all the way around the back of the building towards where the gym is, where the election's at. There's a like emergency exit back there, but that's not the entrance for voters to come in. They come in the main entrance. So hope this isn't like a sign of how my day is gonna go. Rounding the bases here. I don't know what time it is, like 4:30, something like that. Have until 7:30. So I don't know if everywhere is like that. The polling places, Ohio, they close at 7:30, so 6:30 to 7:30 are the hours. Where I'm not sure, like other states. You let me know in the comments, other states, what your polling hours are. But we have to be here ahead of time to set up and get things open. Part of the setup we do the night before, and then there's some initial setup stuff in the morning. You wait until the morning of. I went and voted too today, so I had my sticker on. I had to go to my precinct at lunchtime to do that, so that was fun. But yeah, it's been a wild day here. Like I don't know what's going on at this particular location. Normally it's like low key, just kind of chill. Obviously, like if it's a busier election cycle, like a main midterm or something like that, or the main presidential election, it gets pretty, a lot of people come through, but it's still pretty calm and chill. Like the people are all good. But today, let's see, we had some sketchiness with a dude telling people to bring their ballot out to him to show that they wrote him in as a candidate. So that definitely doesn't fly anywhere. Then we had another situation where a fight almost broke out between some write-in candidates. There's like 3 write-in candidates. 2 of them are going for the same slot. One of them, like the 2 are going for the same slot. One's endorsed by the main party. I don't want to get into like what parties and stuff, but so I'm trying to carefully word that. But endorsed by the main party. The other one's endorsed by the club, like a club that's part of that party. So say, I'm party X and we have the main party X, group nationally, and then you have county level, things like that, state level. Then they're endorsed by the county level. The other one's like, just, hey, I'm party X, but we just have a club. We're not like the official slate card, but still a club that should normally those will still endorse the people the main stuff does, usually like a lockstep, but for whatever reason this one's not. So yeah, so I think that caused some tension there where I'm gonna go head back. I'm just kind of checking outside because that's where all the festivities had taken place, have been outside, where these folks come out. They have to stay and this is universal everywhere in the country. There's usually a certain distance you can be near election site, for campaigning and things like that, so you can hold your signs so that way you're not harassing voters walking in, things like that. So yeah, out here that's where it got kind of heated between a couple of those candidates. So yeah, it's been an interesting day, which makes the time go by faster because it is a very slow job, and it's cold out here. That's why I'm squinting and like tearing up because it's Ohio in November, so yeah, it's not warm out anymore. But yeah, so my next video will probably talk a little bit about what it's like to be like a VLD, which is a deputy site manager or whatever, and the VLM is the manager of the site, and how that kind of works. So but just checking in. So it's been crazy today. Yeah, finally home now. So it was a long day, a very long day. My hair's all a mess, Like, I'm just spent. Oh gee, I was too close. So if people don't know how this kind of works, so you go the night before to set up the location, usually around 6 o'clock. This is like my state, Ohio. Other places may vary, but 6 o'clock, you go set up. Depending on your site, how many things you have to set up. If it's a general election versus like this is like an in-between election. It's not even midterm. It's like just in between even the midterm and the general. So there wasn't a lot of issues on the ballot, but you go set up, take an hour, maybe a little more. And then you come back the next day. Next day starts at 5:30 here. So obviously you're up, awake, and have to get to your site. Okay, you may not be on a site at your neighborhood. Like my polling location is not in my neighborhood. I think I mentioned that earlier. So you go and you, you work the polls. You get there's some morning check-in stuff you do to set up the rest of the site. Part of it again you do the night. Next day there's certain things you do then. And then basically from 6:30 is when the polls open to 7:30 at night. You cannot close early, you can't start breaking down early, not until 7:30. And the way it works too, if it's crowded, like the presidential elections, and especially depending who's on the ballot and what's going on, it could be super crowded. So it could be people out the door lined up. Some locations have that happen. So one of the poll workers will get in line. Like I'm an assistant site manager, so probably I would do it, or the manager will get in line, and you basically, what do you do? Yeah, you get in line and you would get in behind the last person. So at 7:30, you say that no, polls closed, so everybody gets to vote. So whoever's in line at 7:30 still gets to vote. So it could be 100 people, in line at 7:30, they would still get to vote. Anyone comes after you in line, they don't get to vote. So that's just how it works. So it behooves you to get there on time. I've only had that happen once, and that was during this last election cycle, or it may have been the prior one for 2020 maybe. But either way, yeah, where it wasn't like 100 people, it still was only like 10 people or something like that, but still you had to do that. And I don't think anyone else came, so it worked out, so I didn't turn anyone away, because that could get ugly, especially like a controversial election. So yeah, you do that, you work, then you have to break down the site, and then depending on how fast your crew can move, that may take another hour or so to do. There's a counting of the ballots and things like that, but it's all done electronically, all that type of stuff. And then if you're a regular worker, at that point everybody leaves. So everybody has to leave together. That's the other thing. So you can't like say, oh yeah, I'm done at 7:30, I go. It doesn't work that way. So everyone leaves together. The site manager and assistant site manager, because they're opposite parties, have to take the ballots somewhere. So it used to be you took them downtown to the main campus or wherever for the Board of Elections. They changed it after one of the last elections. They switched it up because of all the chaos. Most urban cities, because most election for the counties, or most election places in the counties are usually downtown, so that's not where you want to be in a controversial. We all know what happened. So, so they changed it to just these zones within the city where several precincts would bring their stuff, and then someone down there with security would take it to the downtown. So then, as assistant manager and the manager, you go do that together, get the opposite parties, and then then at that point, your night's done. So I think, what is it now, like 9:30 or something like that, almost 10 o'clock by the time we got done doing that. So yeah, it's good. I think it's like a good opportunity to do like your civic duty kind of thing, to help out. It's an easy way to do it. I mean, it's long days, and there's training too in between that. So usually, just depending on the election cycle or what they change in the manual, they may have some like a 3-hour training or something like that. Sometimes they pay, sometimes they don't for them. And by the way, yeah, don't do it for the money. If you want to help out, do it because you want to help out. Like I started doing it more. I did it before, like in college and things like that, here or there. But I was just a regular poll worker. There's a couple other roles too I did within that, but and then I kind of fell out of it because busy with life and other things and work and job at the time. I couldn't just take off on Tuesdays, not have that flexibility. But during COVID, when they had a shortage of poll workers, because a lot of them were seniors and they didn't want them out there for obvious reasons, I decided like, hey, I'm relatively young, I guess. Technically by age, probably not as young as I may seem, but especially when I get rid of the mustache, but yeah, that's coming soon. But I decided to help or whatever with it, and then it just kind of stuck. I started as a regular poll worker, just checking people in, that type of thing, and then I moved into like the assistant manager position. I talked about earlier like how the manager versus the assistant gets chosen. So I've been doing that for a few years now, and it's fun. Like I said, don't do it for the money, because one, you do get a few pennies for doing it, which is cool. However, you don't get paid for like 6 weeks. So don't do it banking on having some extra quick cash, because yeah, you're not getting paid for 4 to 6 weeks. Usually it hovers on that 6-week period of time. So don't do it for that. But yeah, it helps out. Again, if you're younger, I encourage you to get involved, just because again, a lot of the people do it, and growing up, especially, you know, my age bracket demographic, like it was always like you just retired people, senior citizens doing it, which is just like, I guess, gets tougher on them. And I don't want to get into anything grim, but you know, over time that just, yeah, you need more people doing it. I'll leave it at that. So yeah, get involved. Usually go to your board of elections for your county site, and it'll have places for you to sign up. And it's good too, also the other byproduct, if you're a person who's super active, like elections blah blah, they suck and they're not, you know, safe, this or that, well, this is a good way you can be a part of the process and see kind of how that works. Or you can just guarantee it's secure. That's the other reason I started out doing it too. I'm like, okay, I'll make sure this stuff's secure. If I'm there doing it, I can see if anything sketchy is going on, then, you know, report it. And I can happily say, like, well, I've been doing it. There's been some instances where things look kind of sketchy and on paper, and you know, I was able to kind of nip it there, especially once you get that management role, because I don't have to like try to go to the manager and convince them to do something, because I had a bad manager one time who won't get into that story. So with that, but they were going to leave some ballots like unsecured out, and I'm like, we can't do that. So like, yeah, that helped. And their intentions may or may not have been good. They just weren't a nice person. I'll leave it at that. So I don't know what their intentions were with that. But they at first didn't want to do it. I'm like, no, we have to secure these. Like, I'm sorry, that's how it has to be. So yeah, get involved. And then yeah, if you like my ranting and my rambling, then yeah, please like and subscribe or follow, depending on which platform you see this on. And that stuff helps. Leave comments. And like I said, my short-term goal is to try to get to 1,000 people within 3 months. So we'll see how that goes. All right, take care. Bye.